All right, ladies and gentlemen, so today we're going to talk about solving inequalities with absolute value. Again, our skills are the same. We're still working on creating and solving inequalities and then using coefficients as letters. Our one and only vocab term we defined in chapter 1, but I want you to write it again because it's been a while since we've talked about this idea. But the absolute value of a number is the distance from 0 on a number line represented by those straight line parentheses, those bars, vertical bars. That tells us that it is a distance away from 0. So the first part here, and I do want you to write these down, that sentence here at the bottom. Oh, it's not letting me draw today. So inequalities tell us the distance between x and 0 is less than 3, or I can also have the opposite situation. If my inequality was facing the opposite direction, if I have the absolute value of x is greater than 3, it would be the other way. That I'd have that separate idea. But what it's telling us is, again, that idea of distance. So what I want you to write down is I want you to write down this idea of case 1 and case 2. So when solving absolute value inequalities, there are two cases to consider. Case 1 is that the expression inside the absolute value symbol is non-negative. So you're going to do it. So in this case here, this expression, the non-negative version, is 3. Or case 2, the expression inside the absolute value symbol is negative, which with our simple example would be this one right here, -3. The solution is the intersection or the joining, the union of the two graphs. So in your notes, you should have this sentence written and then these two bullet point ideas and this sentence at the bottom, because this is going to be really helpful as we move forward to practice. Our first practice problem is really your first homework problem on this assignment, page 314, number 5. What I need to do is I first need to break it up into the two cases. In case 1, my stuff inside the parentheses is positive, so I don't need to change anything about it. But my case 2 situation is when the inside is negative. So I'm going to take negative times my stuff inside For case 1, we'll solve that one first and then we'll take a look, because case 2 is where it gets tricky. So for case 1, I know I need to take away 5 from both sides, and I get n is greater than or equal to -2. But my case 2 situation, if that stuff on the inside is negative, well then I need to distribute that negative. That negative is really the same as a -1. So I get a negative n minus 5 is greater than or equal to 3. To simplify, I add 5 to both sides, and I get negative n is greater than or equal to 3. Oh, sorry, not 3 anymore. I added 5 to it, so that's an 8. But now, to get n by itself, I need to divide by a -1. When I divide by -1, I get n by itself, but my inequality symbol flips. So n is less than or equal to -8. Just like we graphed our unions yesterday, we need to create our number line. We want one smaller than the smallest. Oop, wrong direction. Our smallest is -8, so we're going to start with a -9, -8, -7, -6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. For our first half here, I see that n is greater than or equal to -2. Solid circle because it has that or equals 2 piece, and I know it's going to face this way. My second half, the other possibility is that n is less than or equal to -8. So again, solid circle, and it's going to face this direction. So my graph looks like this here with two separately facing directions for my inequalities. Well, now let's try again. Let's try again with a different one here. I see the absolute value of 3v plus 3 is greater than 9. So again, I'm going to have two cases. In my first case, the inside stuff is non-negative. I'm going to leave it alone. In the second case, my inside stuff is the opposite. It's the negative of 3v plus 3 is greater than 9. In case 1, take away 3 from both sides, and I get 3v is greater than 6. Divide by +3, and I get v is greater than 2. In my second case situation, I need to take the negative version, so I distribute that negative and I get a negative 3v minus 3 is greater than 9. To remove my negative 3, I add 3 to both sides and I get a negative 3v is greater than 12. When I divide by that negative 3, my symbol flips direction and I get v is less than negative 4. When I graph this on the number line here, I'm going to plug in my pieces. I have negative 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2. Well, let's make that a little bigger. 3. Negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. For the first half, I see that v is greater than 2. Open circle, because I don't have that equals piece. The other half, I have v is less than negative 4. Again, I have an open circle, and everything smaller than it. Another graph that shows me the distance is greater than these two pieces. For the next practice problems, I have a number line and I need to write that open sentence. I need to come up with a way to write these here using absolute value. Well, with the first one, I see that I have 0 as my center point and the distance is 2. So what this tells me, I'm going to use, let's use k. I like using k as my variable. I know that the absolute value of k is less than 2. The distance is somewhere in between those two pieces there. Well, in this next one, I have the same sort of idea, but I'm not centered at 0. So I need to find, let's erase this. I need to find my center point, and I see that I'm centered on negative 1. That's my center line. And I need to know what that distance is. So from here to here, my distance each time is 2. So I have a similar idea. We'll use j this time. I know that the absolute value of j needs to be shifted to the negative 1. When I shift to negative 1, I'm really adding 1 because I'm subtracting a negative. And I know that that distance is greater than or equal to 2. So I found my midpoint. I subtracted by how much I had to shift my line, and then I set it. This time I have the or equals 2 piece because I see closed circles, but I have my distance on the outside. So there's one homework problem that looks like this. You're finding the distance and then writing out your open sentence. Last practice problem that we're going to do, Ramona's bowling score. This is the homework problem number 40 from page 315. Her score was within 6 points of her average score of 98. So that tells me the difference between her score this time and her average is within 6 points. So that tells me the absolute value of the difference is going to be less than or equal to 6, because we know that it's within, so it'll be smaller than 6 or equal to 6. So I could use this and I could write out that like the maximum score and the minimum score using this information, but this is the part that gets me points on the homework. I need to be able to write it out as an inequality. So now your homework task is page 314, numbers 5 through 45, multiples of 5, not multiples of 3, and number 43. It's just 10 problems. When you are finished, you can submit the assignment on Teams after you've had a chance to grade it. Remember, everybody is doing this learning task at home. B group kids, you should be doing it Tuesday, A group on Thursday. DLI should be doing it on Tuesday as well. Thanks, guys.